The Way You Love Me is the story behind the song this week for the Tennessean and Tennessean.com with two of my favorite writers and favorite human beings, Keith Follese and Michael Dulaney. And I'm so glad to have you. And, we were talking about how songwriting has evolved. And I am so happy. You've both done this a long time. This song was released, 2000? In the year 2000, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Keith and I did another episode of a song that was released in 1999. This thing gets played as much, if not more today than it did back then. Do y'all remember the day you wrote it? Take us back.
Oh boy, I do, Michael. I think, weren't you writing for Pat Finch at the time?
The Famous Music, yeah, which was
Famous Music. So
yeah.
I coached his son in Little League.
Ah.
And Pat came up to me and said, I got this guy I want you to write with. And in those days, well, even probably still, publishers love to mix writers up and see what the brew turns into. That's kind of their thing. And he said, would you do it? I said, absolutely. So he set up an appointment, and I think that day was the first day we met, right?
That was the first day we wrote. Yeah.
It was above it's a hotel now. It was on the second floor of Encore Entertainment, which was right on the corner of 17th and I guess the Circle, kind of, right? Was the Circle even there? I don't even think the Circle was even there.
I wish it wasn't now.
They had to put a body shop on that in the middle of that circle.
But as I remember, you came over and we met.
Yeah.
How did this song start, Michael? You remember?
Well, honestly, we went to lunch before that day, and
which, by the way, tends to be the gestation period, if not the birth of many great songs, because you're talking.
You get to know each other a little bit, so it's not so awkward.
We didn't know each other, and but we're used to that too. That's our job description. You walk in and meet a stranger and go into a room, shut the door, and hopefully a song comes out. And it sure did that day. It was a lesson for me. And so many people say, do you have to live in Nashville to be a songwriter? And my answer is yes, you do, because of days like me and Keith writing The Way You Love Me. We didn't know each other, and we go into that room, and out the door comes that song. And Keith's a great producer as well as a writer, and cut the most. I mean, you probably recorded that 6 to 10 months after we wrote it, and you called me and said you had a room on a session. Would it be okay to put it on there? And what was the girl's name who sang it, who sounds like sunshine through a microphone?
Stephanie Bentley.
Stephanie sang the demo? Are you kidding me?
No, and it sounded just amazing.
Did she get mad that she had a record deal about then, didn't she? Did she ever say, I wish I had?
She makes everybody sound good.
How did the idea happen? Y'all remember?
Well, I have a thought about the way it happened in that, we were talking about walking into the room and you come out with a song. I still got nervous, and I still, even to this day, can get a little nervous walking into a room. It's just the nature of it. It's like, if you're not nervous, you shouldn't play the sport. Well, if you're not nervous, with somebody new, and
if you're not nervous, you don't care. But seriously,
Michael's songs, I listened to a few of them, and they were very deep and introspective, and he wrote these, and I wasn't so much that guy as I might be now then, and I didn't know what we were going to write. And I think, Michael, my point of view is the reason that song changes key so often is that I just got nervous and I just kept writing, and I kept going, is this any good? Da, 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 da. And I think I remember having you sing backgrounds, and just, we wrote this song. And when I came home, my wife said, well, how did it go? And I said, well, I either wrote one of the best songs we ever wrote, or it's the worst thing I've ever done. And I really didn't know.
I didn't
know when we got done. And credit to my song plugger, he goes, are you ever going to demo that song you and Dulaney wrote? I said, you like that song? He goes, I love that song. So I said, well, I'm glad to hear that, because we just kind of, sometimes a songwriter needs somebody to go, you know what, that's better than you think it is, because we're inside the song, right? So I recorded it, And the background vocals, which turned out to be a really big deal in the song,
Yeah.
I couldn't make them work in the choruses the way I wanted to make them work in the choruses. So I only put them in the breakdown. And I turned it in, and my plugger goes, "This is great, but why aren't those backgrounds in the choruses?" I said, "Well, I couldn't mix it right that way." He goes, "Go back and mix it again." So I went back, we took some stuff out, mixed it again. He took it over to Missy Gallimore, and they put it on hold for Faith. The next, I think that day. And something like that was really happening at that time, which didn't hurt us, I don't think.
Right.
And there's a long story about the way that song got recorded too. And Stephanie Byron asked me at the #1 party for something like that. He said, "How do you hear those backgrounds, Keith?" He said, "Who did you have sing them?" And I said, "Stephanie Bentley." He goes, "Oh," he said, "I've tried 6 singers and they don't sound good." I said, "You get her and they'll sound right." So he said, "What do you hear him like?" I said, "I hear him kind of like a musical instrument part that you have to struggle to hear what they're saying. So it'll draw the listener in to go, what are they doing? What are they saying?" But you'll still like the sound of it. And he said, "That's perfect." And he got Stephanie to do it, and that's what they did.
Well, I posit something about this song. If you look at the vocal pattern of that song, that became the vocal pattern for the next 10 or 12 years. That's the first time I remember it was almost a staccato. It was almost a lyric addition the way she sang that song. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I'm not sure I'm vocalizing it right, but if you listen to that song, everybody started following what happened in that record. Michael, do you think that's true?
Yeah, I mean, there was such a trick to that
And there's
song.
never been anything quite like it, really.
No, and Keith, again, Keith fought to get Stephanie's backgrounds heard through the mix. And I do think that's what mattered most ultimately, because it does, very rarely in Nashville first of all, do you get out music theory in a room when you're writing? And we certainly did that day to get 3 keys in a song. And it's fun, it's fun to do math sometimes. And we did it that day. But the way Keith dug those things out, man, he's relentless. And I tip my hat to him, because I don't think had he not dug those backgrounds out, I don't think Byron would have heard it, and I don't think it would have been the fresh. It wouldn't have the freshness that it does and did. It still does. I still hear it.
Byron cut a great record on that
Yes,
song. I mean, both of the songs he cut. But honestly, when I heard that record, I went, wow. Well, a lot of writers will tell you this. They'll go, their demo is really good, and they'll think that it's probably, they'll think their demo's good and they're disappointed, or they'll hear the record and they'll go, it's good, but I like the demo. In that case, I went, wow, did he out demo the demo? That is a record. And
But your blueprint was there.
I think I always looked at the melody as kind of, if you just play it on a guitar, it's just a nursery rhyme.
It is.
Like a grant. And I think that's why people like it. And I think the other thing, the hook that we had was, I'd never heard a song about somebody saying they love the way somebody loves them and watching them love them back. I'd never heard that said in a song.
Yeah, it was ode. Has it ever been done even since then? You're so right about that. This song is so unique in so many ways.
Well, that's what I thought, because it's simple lyrics, but I thought the hook was really interesting. Didn't you think that too, Michael?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's
that's because I think that's what made it country to me, is that, like, it wouldn't be a country song if it didn't have that vibe in it, I don't think.
Well, I think there's something else important. You guys were part of a generation. Do you know what the #1 subgenre of country music is on streaming for a few years now? It's 90s country. And I posit, even though this is in 2000, and what those songs were, and Keith, you and I talked about this before, but I think with you too, Michael, we grew up on the Beatles. We grew up on the pop music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But they're country lyrics. It's sung with a country sort of vocal type rhythm. But I don't know that there was ever a better 90s country song, even though when it came out in 2000 than this. And here's where I'm going with all this.
We wrote it in the 90s.
Yeah, this stuff was crossing over. Now, if I remember this right, her label, I think on this song, maybe another one, maybe Breathe, I don't remember, made a conscious effort to get these on country radio and pop radio. Didn't this thing get several mixes for that reason?
It had a dance mix. It actually was top 5 in almost every chart in the world.
Yeah.
There was a Euro mix where all the majors were minors.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Is that still out there? I got to hear that, man.
It's really cool, I gotta say.
It was one of the first songs I heard really sped up and made a dance mix, and I didn't even know how they did it. Like, I was kind of tech savvy, but I was not. I didn't get that. I didn't know how they did it.
You know, the funny story about it for me, Pat Finch, they just got the video for it over at Warner, and Pat Finch marched me down Music Row to go get first chance to see the video for the song. And when she's in the waitress uniform and the policewoman's uniform and spraying ketchup and mustard on her everywhere, I just looked over at Pat Finch. I said, "I'm rich."
Well, look, has there ever been a more beautiful, and especially the camera loves, Faith Hill?
Oh,
that was such a prototypical video. I had a question. I went back and watched it this morning before we did this interview. She's got some giant fake tattoo in the nurse character, and it says something. I can't quite make it out. What does it say? Any idea? And I wonder why they did that. I mean, it's like massive.
I think it says Michael. I'm not sure, but
you haven't changed
that,
it,
my friend. We're going with that. Now, the internet. People love a conspiracy. There's all these. I don't even know the word I'm looking for. There's these chats about this or that or the other that have nothing to do with it. There's one about one line in this song. You know that? Still to this day.
I don't know this, so this is news to me.
What you're missing over there. Where is the guy? What does it mean? I mean, there's this whole just go look in chat rooms and people lose their minds over that. What does that line mean? Over where?
On the other side, looking back at me, what you're missing over there. That's what I thought it meant, didn't you?
So
over there's you.
It's a personification type thing. It's about the love that okay, but it's not a physical location.
In other words, you don't know how good it feels to be loved by you.
Well, that's not what the internet thinks. They've got him as a Mossad agent. God knows. It's literally.
I didn't mean another country.
Over there's the other person, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was pretty obvious, but what do I know?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was an important song in Faith's career. Michael, what did I not ask you about this song?
Oh.
Any kind of good story or remembrance of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It was such a whirlwind because Breathe was on the chart at the time.
Yeah.
And when I like Keith, I thought it was so simple and it could be a nursery rhyme. And I think I might have even joked that day we should get it to Barney the Dinosaur, which would not have been a bad cut because I think he was selling about 20 million copies.
There's still time.
But I always say that The Way You Love Me is the way that you've got to be blanking kidding me song, because that's what I kept saying when Pat Finch told me, my publisher told me that Faith Hill just put it on hold, and I'd been pitching her so many of my artsy songs and thinking that's what she wanted. And there's this commercial ditty that she loved, and I said, you got to be blanking kidding me. Weeks later, he came up and said it's going to be the next single, and again I said, you've got to be blanking kidding me. And months after it was a hit, all the way up the chart worldwide, Pat again came into the room I was writing in and said, hey, your song just got nominated for a Grammy. It's like,
Wow.
you've got to be blanking kidding.
Well,
Well, he
on that, go ahead.
he told me that in a hamburger stand that we all went to on Music Row. And he walked up and said, "Did you hear the news?" I said, "What news?" He goes, "You just got nominated for a Grammy." I said, "For what?" And he told me, and I was literally shell shocked. I had no idea. I didn't even think you would ever be nominated for a Grammy. That never even crossed my mind. Did it you, Michael?
No, and all of my friends, co-writers, will say to this day, "And you lost."
Well, I was sitting right next to Stephanie Bentley, who is one of my best friends and sang the song for us. And she was nominated for a Grammy as well for Breathe, and we lost to a U2 song.
Right.
That much I remember.
Yeah.
I just want to
Beautiful
say
day.
this is so unique. You know, credit Faith's performance,
Yep.
the way y'all wrote this song, the
It was
laborious attempts on the background vocals, Byron, the different mixes. But I don't know that I've ever said this, and we've done way over 300 songs in this series, Story Behind the Song. And it may be the biggest compliment I can ever pay you because, you know, there's three chords in the truth. It's very unique is hard. Different is hard. I have never heard a song like this, ever. I think it stands alone in the annals of our genre. I think we're richer for it. And I'll end with this. I think if it came out today, you'd get nominated for another Grammy. This thing is a special, special tune, guys.
Oh, you're so kind to us.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're glad to have you there.
So Keith Follese, Michael Dulaney, The Way You Love Me. Faith crushed it. Story Behind the Song this week, The Tennessean and Tennessean.com.